All right, in today's module, we are going to be going over one of the most important things I would say throughout this entire coursework, and it is the listing optimization of your property. This is the number one thing that is going to make you stand out amongst everybody else in the crowd. So we're going to walk you through the step-by-step process, pretty much every page and or button that you're going to want to click and constantly be aware of through this module. So I'm going to actually share my screen. And we're going to get rocking and rolling on what this looks like. All right, cool. All right, so this is what your Airbnb is going to look like when you come onto the Airbnb platform first and foremost. In the top right-hand corner, this is where we have our profile. We always have our logo of the company up here. So one tip and trick is to come up with your own professional logo, because people see that as a professional company when they are reserving with you. So it does oftentimes help enhance your overall marketing of that property when you list. Other things to note is you can use personal images such as a selfie of yourself. A lot of times more people interact and feel relatable to females when you show a picture, but they do also like it when people show images of couples that are doing this as well. We've heard those are the top 3 marketing tips and tricks for your profile picture specifically. So just something to be aware of it there. So right here in the hosting side of Airbnb, because there is a traveling side as well. I'll show you that when we go through other optimization aspects. This is the front page. This is today. Airbnb is almost like a CRM of all of your properties in a nutshell. Up here on the front dashboard, we have checking out today. So you understand how many people that in your portfolio are going to be checking out that day specifically, who you're currently hosting, who's arriving soon, what days they're coming in. Upcoming is total bookings out right now. And then these are the reviews that you leave for your guests after their stay. So right now, I'm on the reviews section, I think. Let's go to checking out, if it'll load. No. Yeah, because these are all the reviews that I got to leave. So it tells you you have up to 14 days to leave a review for a guest. You don't always have to leave a review. Don't feel like it's an absolute obligation. But you cannot see a review that has been left for you unless you also leave a review for that guest. Some people do tactics where they won't leave a review until the 13th day or the 14th day at the 11th hour. So if there's any complaints or any issues with that guest specifically, the guest does not have time to go back in and fight it. They will miss that window of opportunity. So it's one tactic a lot of people use in that sense as well. Down here, it gives you recommendations to potentially add to your listing if you have the ability to do so. It's just saying show more details, showcase the outdoor stuff that you have at the property. We don't have a barbecue or a fire pit, so we just ignore these because they're just not relevant to our property in this situation. Yeah, they want to talk more about the backyards. This property doesn't really have a great big backyard for that purpose. The property is not intended to be used for that backyard. So again, we're ignoring those details. No dedicated workspace, those types of things. Airbnb just tries to consistently pop up with options and or thoughts to add and or enhance your property if you can. This is where we get Superhost support. So you get Superhost after 1 quarter, 90 days, and you have to have 3 key things. I'm going to go over those later as we get to that tab. But that's pretty much the main dashboard. You don't really have to see too much else around here. Next is the inbox. And this is where we get all of our messages with all of our guests. And this is where we do a lot of the details and a lot of the conversations with all of our guests. We do have automated messages that are sent out from Hospitable. We include those in one of the other modules and the links they're in. Module 4, thank you. Yep. And yes, so this is where you're going to be seeing what those look like as you build out and then have conversation with your guests, where those come from. You learn the differences. Also, we collect emails. We talked about that before. So over here, we get to see the guest's profile. I'm going to exit that. I'm going to go back to the details and see what we can get on her. So Annie's review, she has an overall 5-star rating when all is said and done by a majority of the people she stayed with. So this is a really good guest that we decided to host throughout her stay. And her check-in date is today. There you go. So this is where we do all of that. Over here on the top right is you can mark it as unread. You can save this one specifically, all these messages. It works like email, works like text messaging, the full nine, or just simply archive it for a later date. You can clear up the clutter over here if you so choose to do so. One other thing really cool about the search bars in here is you can key code search or keyword search specifically. So if we say something like lockbox, it's going to take us to all the lockbox messages that we've had with people, and we've had to go back and figure out in case there was some trick that we forgot that we had to do for people to get into the property, or there was specific codes back then that got changed. It's just another way to search things through and figure out what they are. Over here is the filters option where you can, again, go to unreads, all the trip stages, who's checking in, who's not, and just kind of come up with your own organized system and what works for you. And that's pretty much all in regards to the messaging aspects. There's nothing crazy pretty about this whatsoever. It's just the way this is going to look when you get into this and build your own listing out.
I'm going to add one thing before you get off the page.
Please do.
So if you go over to those 3 dots again, where you just were, or 3 lines, sorry.
Yes.
In there, if you don't have a CRM, you can create your own scheduled messages. So if you don't, if you're on one property and you're only using like, you're not using Hospitable or a different property management system, you can create templates for check-in, check-out, and those type of things within Airbnb specifically, and you can set them per listing. So you can do it within here. Definitely is not as smooth or as good as a PMS. However, it gets the job done on, I would say, like 1 or 2 properties.
Yes.
So just a free version of it.
Yes, and this is where you go to the new message, you create a message template, and it'll give you the walkthrough instructions on how to create that from start to finish. As we said, we provided the templates before, copy and paste, and just tweak it and fiddle with it as needed. So very, really good thing to know right there. Thank you for interjecting with that, Sam. Really appreciate it. Next on the list of the tabs that we're going to be going through is the calendar option. So again, this is where it's going to show up with all of your listed properties over here on the left. And I wish, and Sam may know if we can do this or not, I wish we could like drag and drop these into a specific order, but you can't. So it's pain. So sometimes it gets a little confusing trying to figure out, all right, where's our property?
So they're alphabetical
Yeah,
of the live ones. So that's kind of how it works
that makes
from the
sense.
title. So I'm not sure if we added internal names to them. You know how like it says P for Poconos,
Yeah,
but it seems to be by
Yeah.
the H for hot tub still. But yeah, they're alphabetical by your title.
yeah. So this is where you get to see all the properties, and walking from left to right, this is where you get to see the calendars and the dates on the calendars that are booked. So this continues. This is just one property. This is not like a standard calendar where it's like days 1 and then 31 down here. All the way out, it just continues. Next line, all the way out, just continues. Same way, all the way down. So this is where you get to see how your bookings are doing overall, and you get to track and make assessments on what you need to do, how to improve, price adjustments. This is where the data happens. This is where all the magic takes place. So you get to look at these things and be like, all right, what do I got to do to fill these 3 days? Do I want to fill these 3 days? Is it necessary? If so, then you take it to the next step from there. So here, do we want to fill this? Yes, no, we decide and move on from there. You can filter and go to the right, layers and rule sets. You can differentiate the properties based on the rule sets you have in place or the prices. Again, pretty self-explanatory. You can click into these calendars and block off specific dates too.
You can also manually override pricing too.
Yes. Yeah, so we have the nightly prices. We don't have rule sets. We don't typically add rule sets.
I think we have one. I don't know if it is existing. Like if you scroll down in rule sets, is there one?
Oh God, yeah.
There might not be for every. Yeah, so that's you can create a rule set right in there, but we have one that exists that we don't really utilize because we have dynamic pricing.
Yes, so rule sets are specifically used for I would say the dynamic pricing aspect. So it's when you go into the nightly prices, you create a rule set with your calendar, and that rule set basically means from like say Monday through Thursday, you're going to discount Monday and discount Thursday and keep regular rates on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. That's a rule, and it's set in place, and it's going to always stay that way. So it appears and acts as natural dynamic pricing. but it's manual and it will stay that way until you change that rule set again. When you get to like say Fridays and you want to do a 1 night stay, but you make that nightly stay the equivalent of the entire weekend's price rate. So 1 night equals Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. That's a rule set, and that's a high rate day rate, which is what we did one time. But we stopped utilizing Airbnb's platform because we upgraded to what's called Price Labs, which is a dynamic pricing software that does the same thing, but it automatically tracks and changes the prices for us with the market as other people change their prices too. So it just becomes an automated thing. But starting out, it's not a requirement to get Price Labs. This is the way to do this, free version. So there you go. And you can, again, you can go back up and you can block the dates or you can make them available. You get to choose what to do. It's pretty awesome. Next, we have insights. Now, this is where you get to see, again, what is happening with your properties. This is more like the data tracking point in place for all of your properties and what's been going on throughout. So ways to improve: appealing, flexible booking, pricing, hospitality tools. You can go through and click all of these things and you can check and see what you're caught up on, what you're not caught up on.
Yeah, I was gonna say they're showing like the opportunities. So if you do
Yes.
all of them, they're kind of like the opportunities that they see within your listings
Mhm.
to make any changes. So like add a crib,
Yep.
consider adding a
We
crib.
don't have cribs.
Yeah.
Yep.
So different ones. They're just kind of ways that Airbnb is trying to suggest. And
Yep.
a lot of the times Airbnb will promote you if you are doing what they suggest. So I would certainly try if you're able to, like we've done many of these you'll see there, but
Yeah. And as she said, Airbnb favors people that are utilizing more bells and whistles that they provide on their platform. Just starting out, I encourage you to do that as much as you can. We don't add cribs to properties. That's why we don't do that. We add pack and plays, but they like to push people that have cribs more. So it's just part of Airbnb's algorithm, but you don't have to adhere to every single thing. It's not going to be detrimental in the long run if you don't have these things, because a lot of places don't. It's just not your avatar. So just bear that in mind. So next comes down to the quality of the properties. And this is where you get your reviews, the 5-star ratings. You can kind of track the progress they're in. We have a pretty good consistency overall. Where do we got? 378 reviews. This guy was a fun one. We were trying to figure out what happened in that sense because he didn't have a good time, and what he's saying is not accurate. But we have 378 reviews. You get to see all the good stuff, and you want reviews, and you do want to get 5-star reviews as best as you can, as often as you can. Airbnb really does favor people that have 5-star reviews overall. It does help you obtain Superhost status, and you do need to get that every quarter. More and more people have become Superhost, but it's still plays to your favor, and they do give you a little bit extra support if you are a Superhost when all is said and done. Out of the gate, go for as many great reviews as you possibly can, and keep at it. You're going to get bad people, though, that no matter what you do, it's always going to be a bad review, period. All right. Again, you can go through all these things. There we go. So this is, again, where you get to track the data on what people's left review-wise on the properties based on their responses to staying at that property. I don't totally track all of these specific numbers because through our experience, and this is Sam can say otherwise if she feels differently, but it doesn't really make that much of a difference due to the fact that everybody is an extremely subjective individual. And every single thing, we've done things that are like exactly requested, and then the next person that comes in absolutely hates it. So it comes down to subjectivity. So we don't really try to track that. We try to just make sure we know what we have as the property goes, what's in that property, and how to make it as high quality and professional as possible. So that's our approach. We keep it simple. And then if there are things within those units that are normal wear and tear or do consistently happen over and over again, like a water heater constantly turns off and gets cold, like we have steps in place to make sure that we can respond to the guests and still provide a 5-star quality situation, even though that does tend to happen because we can't replace that water heater at this point in time. So things like that, you just have to think about how to communicate with the guest versus care completely about all of these little things, because answer the person as best as you can, but you don't have to answer every single person. All right, going down to the list. Again, we don't really utilize any of these things, but this is, again, tracking how the check-in process goes and what people say about that check-in process. Every door lock is going to be very different, and you're going to learn very quickly when to change the batteries on those door locks. What is the typical time frame when you're going to start seeing it to run into headaches and cause issues for you? You got to track all those things and kind of get ahead of it when it becomes a systematized process. A lot of our doorknobs or door locks require about 3 months before battery change. So when we get to like 2.5 months, we have a notification on our CRM that says, all right, we got to swap batteries out soon. Be prepared. You might start seeing guests complain or having issues or struggling with the door. All those types of little things. You just constantly have to be aware of those and up to date on that. We don't track cleanliness inside of this too much. We get a lot of that feedback from the 5-star reviews as well. And when people are mad at you, they make it pretty apparent pretty quickly. So you either get cleaners involved out of the gate, or you figure out how to just mitigate the situation altogether. Communication is something that I do stress highly. Communication is absolutely the number one thing that is going to get you across the board to all your guests. And this is what's going to cause guest retention at the same time. If you can be friends with these people and relate to them and connect with their emotions, you are going to get those people to come back to your property. It's very important. This is where you track that stuff. We don't track it, obviously, still. It's just, this is something we've implemented from day one that is automatically a part of the Airbnb algorithm. It's very easy to stay within their algorithm. If you respond within 1 hour of every single message that is sent to you and or inquiry, you will get 100% result every time. No questions asked. Locations, values, it goes down to what people's preferences are. We've had people absolutely adore our properties and other people say it's too far from the exact same situation. So we don't pay attention to those. Occupancy rates, again, just tracking everything within your listings. This is why this is a good CRM out of the gate for people that aren't into or able to jump into Hospitable, Guesty, those types of platforms. Use this, track it as much as you can, learn the language of what you're looking at. Cancellation rates as well. We have a 10.2% overall cancellation rate. We do our absolute best to make sure that when somebody has to cancel, or even if we have to cancel the guest, we make sure that it is the guest who does the initiation, and they're the ones who do the cancellation process on their end. If a guest cancels, you will not be penalized, period. If you cancel on a guest, you are going to get a penalization, and it will impact your overall Airbnb algorithm on being shown to your guests that you're trying to attract to stay at your property. Do everything in your power to avoid a cancellation as best as you can. Airbnb offers a 24 to 48 hour cancellation window if you have instant booking set on your property, but you still do get dinged. We have had conversations many times regarding that with actual reps at Airbnb, and it's like a 0.01% decrease or 0.1 point down on your overall 4-point or your star rating.
Just to clarify, so
Sure.
what it does is he'll show it during, Ben will show you during Superhost, but you have to keep your cancellation rate at 99%. So if you don't have 100 bookings for that quarter, or especially going in, say you only have 10 and you have to cancel one of those, then you're going to have a 90% not cancellation rate of 10% cancellation rate. You're going to have to build up so many more bookings to get out of that. So you can cancel 1 out of every like 101 stays and still be a Superhost. Anything more than that, you are automatically out of the running for Superhost. So it doesn't penalize you in terms of financially or in terms of anything like that. What it does is it's still, if you're canceling for the an instant booking, what it does is hurt your cancellation rate. So it still counts in that. And going forward for like the foreseeable future, it will impact you until you have enough stays where it's less than 1%.
Yeah, you're basically knocking the legs out from under and you have to build from the ground back up. It's rough. So you avoid that at all costs. First and foremost, there are going to be extenuating circumstances where you might have to cancel somebody. And if that's the case, it's a decision that has to be made. The whole goal about building a short-term rental business is to not rely on Airbnb eventually. You just need to get to a point where that you can still use it and then merge off of that platform to build your business in a different direction. You will get there. Whereas this won't be as big of a deal to you. You're going to transfer how you engage and interact guests and bring them in, retain them as you build your brand. Length of stays, we don't really do much in this sense as well on this. Our average is 3.5 days. We are adjusting though when the off season takes place to go for longer stays. And those are between 5 to 30 days if we can get those. We're trying to do midterm approaches as the seasons get quieter, travels less. So the whole goal is to fill and have occupancy. So this will adjust as we go. Nightly rates as well. This is our average nightly rate across the board on all of our properties. We try to tell people to stay for the mid-class kind of style properties between the $200 to $300 average daily rate reservations kind of bookings that you're trying to get.
I would say especially during doing arbitrage, because
Yes.
you don't want to go too luxury when you're starting
Mhm.
out and tie yourself down into a rent that is super high, and you have to keep your rates up, and you're
Mhm.
really dependent on your performance because you have this monthly rent you have to make every day. So I would say definitely like a 3.2, I don't
Mhm.
know, under, depending on the market, but like Ben said, like a
You want to
moderate
stay in this
to,
range.
yeah, for sure.
Typically, it'll be a good area to start looking when you come to finding a property that does a good deal. Yep. Here's conversions. Actually, let me go back to that. Forgive me. Up here at the top right corner, as you can see, you can print out monthly reports. As you go through this, you're going to want to start printing these out and then comparing the last month's report to this month's report, seeing the differences, seeing where you can increase and decrease or change or adjust or pivot, do whatever you need to do. This is your data. You cannot move forward without tracking a difference. So
And on
do not
all of
forget that.
these, yeah, and on all of these, you can see up under nightly rate there, you can specify what, on your right, under,
Oh,
up here, like up all listings, June 8th to July 8th, like all those filters.
where? Oh, ease. Sorry.
Yeah,
Forgive me.
so you can filter by specific listing. You can change the dates, so you could go back and do June 1st to July
Mhm.
1st. Or you could filter by all your 3 bedrooms or all your houses with hot tubs or all your houses in a specific area. So
Mhm.
you can definitely tailor the data. And then like
Tailor
if
the monthly
a
report.
month, if you forgot to report it, then you could just adjust back in time to get that
Yes.
data.
And that's on
Yeah.
all of these.
Yep.
Yes. Cool. Next is earnings. So this is where you get to select the month that you're seeing, what time of the year, the full 9. It'll go back and show you exactly what was happened. And here's the difference between what's paid out and what's expected. Usually it's popping up right here.
Sometimes they
Usually
won't
they have
have
all.
past data, but one thing to remember is if you're co-hosting, if
Mhm.
the listing is not under your listing, it will not
Yes, it
show up
will
in your
not show up
revenue,
here.
right? So this is only properties that are your main listing. So
Or your own.
yeah, we co-host on over half of
Mhm.
ours. These are just that's kind of what you have to keep in mind is if you have people who you might have to go onto your homeowner's Airbnb
Mhm.
to get the data that you
Get
need.
that data and combine the data. Yes. So as you can see, this is what's been paid out already since the beginning of the month, and this is what is expected payout for this month. Again, this is not at all just the single amount of data that we get. This is, as she said, about half of it. So be aware of that. Don't forget that. um, and again, this doesn't show our occupancy rating as well either. But this is where you see all of that. We're going to go on the Superhost now. So this is what you need to maintain to have Superhost. So you need to have an overall 4.8 star rating. 100% response rate is what we have, but criteria means 90%. We stuck at 4.8 the whole time, which is great. Having a 5.0 overall star rating is very, very hard to achieve unless your property is brand new, built from the ground up, 0 issues from the get-go, and you have everything down pat, and you really know how to communicate with your guests. So do not try to kill yourself shooting for a 5-star rating for the rest of your life. Don't worry about it. We do need a 0% or less than a 1% cancellation rate, as Sam discussed earlier. And we need 10 completed stays over 100 nights.
Or
Or
over
100 nights over
yeah.
3+ days. Yes. So if you maintain that, you will have superhost status. So I don't remember if you saw up here, we just got superhost status this past quarter. We had one person do a bad review and it dropped our number to 4.73. I'm not worried about this whatsoever because it's the very beginning of our quarter and we're going to be generating so many more 5-star reviews. This number is going to be punched back up by the end of the month. We still have 2 quarters to go. It's very easy. Do not panic about these things. Give yourself time because you do have literally 90 days to correct anything. Don't stress it. Build that into it. So yeah, that's Superhost, and maintain that as much as you can. It does help your algorithm overall. And then listing issues. This is where people go and report things with your property. And this person listed a bad issue. And that's the thing. Bear this in mind. People will say things that aren't necessarily true about your property, and they can have negative impacts on your listing on Airbnb. So you're going to have to deal with that, and it's just part of the game. It's part of the business. It's not anything to lose nights of sleep over whatsoever. Simple things can be done to mitigate these situations. And yeah, we'll teach you how to do that as well as we go. All right, and finally, there's a lot on these things. You guys are going to have to definitely take your time and play with this software as well. And we're more than happy to get on Zooms and go over properties for you, or go over the properties with the layouts and things like that, walk you through those types of things as needed. So this is where we have all of our listings. And this, I'll just walk you through what the listing looks like, kind of what to expect. You're going to want your photos at the top here. You're going to have a hero shot and then your 5 best photos within that. After that, you want to go through the basics. You're going to have to come up with a good title. I'm going to walk you through how to do that in the next video. You're going to come up with the listing description as well. And the listing description is going to have a lot of important details about what the property offers. We're going to go through that too. Number of guests. We always try to put in 2 extra guests compared to what the bed bath count has in the property. So if it is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath property, we're going to make sure that is an 8-bed property because it can fit up to 8 people because we have 6 automatically. We can put somebody on a couch, we get a pull-out bed. Automatically what we do out of the gate. This is a custom link. You can utilize that so that when you start marketing your property, you're telling your friends or people that are traveling that you have an Airbnb, right click this, copy it, put it in Facebook, put it wherever you want to put it in the email, send it out. This is where you have your amenities section. I'm going to walk you through every single one of these. The location of the property, so you have a physical address when you import it into your listing over here. Neighborhood descriptions. Know the area as best as you can because it helps people when they come and you need to have a conversation with them. Talk about the public transportation, getting around, location sharing, stuff like that. Scenic views, pool. Some of our properties have mountains, some of our properties have woods. You just need to look at all that and put it all into this. All right, next is where you're going to go through your pricing and availability of the property. Sam's going to be discussing this in detail in another video, but this is where we're going to be putting in all the discounts, the reasons why we do the discounts, all those fun things. We're going to go through it like this one right here. I got to talk about it. Minimum night stay is 1, but we have a maximum of $9.99. We'll go through that later in another video. But you're going to want to go through all of these things, every single little thing. The house rules, what the check-in time, the checkout time, all that fun stuff. You're going to have to figure out the cancellation policies as well. That's where all of this is. And then info for guests is going to be all the information that the guests need that you're going to be plugging into here that automatically gets sent to them or is included into your listing as you build it out, which is the Wi-Fi details, house manuals if you have one, check-in methods, stuff like that. And then lastly, co-hosting is when if you have more than one person that wants to be activated on the accounts, you put the second primary and then everybody else after that has full access or just calendar inbox access. You get to change and adjust as needed. when it comes to putting in a secondary person and what rights and authorities they have on your listing. So that's pretty much everything that I think that we can say about this. One thing I do want to show you is this. It's called preview listing. So when you go down and optimize all this stuff, you build out everything that you have under all these tabs and you're satisfied. You can even check it out before you're done, just to kind of look at what you want to improve upon. But if you go to preview listing, it's going to come up and show you exactly what happens when you're done. So this is what happens when you come to a property and you are checking it out. You get 5 photos on the front end. So like I said, I'll go over this later, but you want a hero shot and the top 5 best photos of your property that sell the property. And then it shows this. It shows what everybody is going to see that you put into it. We have 10 guests, 3 bedrooms, 4 beds, 2.5 baths, nightly rates. Here's the overall star rating that we have, 18 reviews. Shows that it's a good sign. Self-check-in, great check-in experience is 94% process. Great communication, 100%. So people get to see how we performed on this property as well as the property itself. Again, descriptions, what shows up, where you'll sleep. You're going to go through the property and explain each room so people can just scroll and be like, oh, cool, I understand what I'm looking at. All the amenities come up for people, shows all the amenities here. And it also shows the availability on the property. So it shows what's available and open that people can book at this point in time. And at the very bottom on this property, all the reviews. When starting out, you might not have reviews yet, but you will gain them. And then it provides the generalized destination. Actually, this one provides the correct address, it looks like. Yes, cool.
Yeah, I mean, so basically what I do is I'll usually slide it away from the house just slightly. So you can't really tell where it is. I believe it's a little bit to the left typically,
Yeah, it's
but I'll
over
just
on this
push it.
road
Yeah, I'll
out
push
here.
it over a little bit just so they don't know exactly where it is. But
Mhm.
yeah, I'll keep it very close because it's useful to people.
Yep. And then it shows, this is under Samantha's profile specifically, so it's got her photo and all that, and it shows her overall. Here's my co-hosting and another partner we have on the deal. But yeah, that's how this looks for your guests when they come and search for your property. That is pretty much what Airbnb's platform looks like when you guys start building them out. Go through every single one of these tabs, and pretty much the most important one is going to be menu. You're going to go to creating a listing out of the gate, create a new listing right here. And then as you build out this listing, all these other tabs are going to start being filled up. This is the number one important thing that you need to go to. Sorry, this one right here. This is Teams. Samantha's on my team, and we have another couple people. This is where I said it was a CRM you can utilize and put in tasks, not only for yourself, but cleaning teams. Guidebooks can be planted in here as well. We don't typically use those. We've had outsourced guidebooks created for us. And we've implemented those into our direct email marketing campaign. Up to you if you want to do them. Play around with it, see what works. And then we've never used Connect with Hosts near us. I'm not sure what that is or what that really does, but you can also figure that out as well. This is just the transaction history on the properties, pro marketing pages. Go through it, play with it, have some fun with it. You're going to be very involved for a long time. So cool beans. Sam, did we miss anything else or have to go over anything else on this?
No, I don't think so. You can go over optimization and
Cool.
in your next video, and then after that, we'll do like the pricing and availability and the policies and rules. I'll do that in one video. Since I already went over dynamic pricing, we can just go over what you can do in Airbnb too.
Cool. All right, so that'll be it.